Heart First leadership isn't what you say, it's how you show up, how you regulate, how you communicate, and how you execute when it matters most. We are Heidi and Ryan Sawyer, and you are listening to the Heart First Leadership Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrated Performance Podcast. I'm kind of forced into a position where I have to say this is my favorite guest, but it really is my favorite guest. My best friend, my wife, Heidi Sawyer, is here. Back again. We have a little message we want to share. We have some things that have been happening here in our environment, and it's making such an impact. We're like, let's just hop on and talk about it. So thank you, Heidi, for being with me today and taking your time out of your busy schedule.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here in different rooms of the house on the recording with you.
We're zooming it up. Yeah, you're upstairs, I'm downstairs. Before we get going, I do want to let you know that we've been talking about this for a while, but the doors are open to the Integrated Human Performance platform community. It's free to join. There's free content in there. We do member highlights. There's a bit of networking in there from that point of view. There is breath courses that are free, and we just launched our 6-week breath and meditation course where we take you through our 4-step mindfulness progression, stillness, noticing game, letting go, and creating desired experiences. And all the science behind that as well, of all the breath and practices to be able to progress within that. It is a ton of content, and we're nearly giving it away. So hop in, check it out. Would love for you to have that experience and give us some feedback. So if nothing else, jump in the community. It's a place where we're lifting each other up, becoming the best versions of ourselves. And truly, the goal of it is not just some platform for our coaching, but we really, truly want to add value to people's lives, to raise the level of consciousness amongst leaders, parents, and then which is going to make an impact and trickle down to our kids, teams, communities, and all the above, which is kind of what we're talking about today. We're going to talk about this motto that we kind of stumbled upon we don't fully remember the conversation, but I remember the gist of it. So we're going to tell the story as well. Remember it, but we came up with this motto for integrated human performance, and really it's become the motto for our life in this family, for our lives and for our marriage and for our kids, is to don't tell them, show them. Like, I want you just to sit with that for just a minute. One thing I want to hit before we go into the story is there's a lot of times I hear people complaining about certain generations, and the first thing that I think about in a very open, curious mind is to say, who's raising those generations? And we are now in the generation raising the younger generation that we complain about. And so then also makes me come back to the next piece and say, well, where are they learning these things that we're not happy about? Like, they become what they see and who we are becoming, right? So we're going to talk more about that with the natural learning process, but let's first just talk about how this all came about. To don't tell them, show them. Within our coaching program, one of the things that we really, really strive to do is we want people to become leaders of their own lives. We want people to be able to empower themselves. We want to be able to work with someone for 3 months, 6 months, and then they're able to fly without us, right? Maybe a little bit of support, but it's not some continued thing where once you learn these principles, these tools, these mindset, these practices, like, you're going to be able to govern your own life. You're going to be able to lead your own life, and you're going to be able to become what we call a practitioner. The power of that is incredible. So we're in a situation, we have a 9-year-old and an 8-year-old, beautiful babies. We have a boy and a girl, Colton and Haley. And we were having some little interesting, not big deal, but, this some little undesirable personality traits of kind of our little one, our daughter, being a little bit hot and cold. Let's call it hot and cold. I don't want to do this. I do want to do that. And then being really, really sweet when she's asking daddy for a treat. And then the next moment being kind of disrespectful and just not caring about what people think and not caring about how she treats people. So does that sound does that set the stage, Heidi?
Yeah, that's what was like in this moment of time that we're talking about this story of how we came up with this and how this came about. That's what was going on in that moment. Yeah. I'm always super careful not to want to define anyone by any one moment. So just to clarify.
No. Well, I mean, it's the process of what we're all in. We're constantly learning from the last moment, showing up in the next moment, authentic and whole and doing our best, but we have to be able to, observe what's happening, the patterns. We have to be able to compare,
And I
comparisons.
think as coaches also, we see the best in our clients, and we see the potential, and we see the true essence and worthiness in everyone. And so the same thing happens in parenting, right? We see someone not showing up as their best self, and it's an opportunity.
Yeah. And you want the best for your children, right? So we had this situation where I kind of put my foot down in the evening that night with our children about being in complete control and taking full responsibility of who they're becoming and how they're treating people and what the outcomes of their lives are going to be. Like, they're in the driver's seat, and you're going to take the wheel. I'm shining the light down a path, but you are responsible to take the wheel. And so I went into probably one of my rants. They last a while sometimes. It's a 10, 15, maybe even 20-minute rant. And the kids, they received it well. And then I asked, okay, what'd you learn? Feedback. And they kind of came back with a few things. But then they went to bed, and Heidi and I were having a conversation. And we, as leaders, as coaches, as parents, are the first ones, because of the work that we do and the work that we've done, are the first ones. Okay, well, this is the environment that we're in. This is the experience that we're having. What part are we playing in that? Right? Yeah. Who are we being? How are we modeling that? In what ways do we need to potentially guide our attention towards a different experience, therefore being in a different vibration, therefore our children being influenced in a different way, right? This goes so far beyond just screen time and some of these simple things. It's legitimately like your expression, your concept of yourself and how you're expressing that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's more about you as a parent, as a leader, your internal experience and how that energetic is imprinting onto other people that are in your environment, and then how that's expressing. And truly, I always say our children are like a mirror. Oh, yeah. They're just like a mirror showing us exactly what our opportunities are for growth, where our opportunities are for healing. And it's so powerful. And we'll probably talk more about this as we go on. But when we do that work within ourselves, it shows up in others around us, and it heals generations. So it's really powerful.
Before we go too far down that path, I want to ask you said something. I want to know what this means. You said we have to know what the inner experience is of being a leader or something like that.
Yeah, we need to, as leaders, we need to pay attention to our own internal experience.
Okay, so when you say that we in this, I know what you mean by that, I think.
Right.
But I would love for you to explain. Sometimes you're better explaining these things than I am, because I have so many things wrapped around in my head about it, right? What does it mean to you to be aware of your internal experience?
Mm-hmm. Well, let's start with what it means for me not to be aware of my own internal experience. It's when I'm looking at other people or situations in my environment that are a result of that energetic, a result of that experience, and I'm focused externally on those things, as opposed to really tapping into what does it feel like inside my body? What are the types of thoughts and quality of thoughts that I'm having? And what is my overall experience in being me? So I can give you some examples of that also as we go on, but
yeah.
We are all leaders. If you're ready to stop waiting and start impacting your environment in a powerful way, we want to connect with you. Click the Book Now link in the show notes to book a call with a Heart First coach and discover what Heart First leadership can look like in your life and in your environment. Now back to the show.
So being aware of where your beam of awareness is, right? Our attention is always somewhere. The question is, do you know where it is? And in the very beginning of starting to become aware of where your attention is, like that can be exhausting, but here's the thing that we have to be aware of is that our attention is being trained to be overly, outwardly focused because of TV, media, news, cell phones, things that are drawing our attention outside of ourselves, which is limiting perception. And we're not able to find where there's growth opportunity. We're not be able to find even opportunities within business, within relationship, within all kinds of things, because we're so stuck in the moment, feeling like, oh, there's something wrong with it. And then we don't take responsibility when we see things showing up in our teams or in our kids. We blame the environment for how it being the way it is, rather than saying, how am I co-creating?
Mm-hmm. And it's powerful when you take that responsibility. And I also want to say, we are not perfect parents. That's why we're on this growth journey, right? That's why we're here talking about this, is not to say, hey, look at us, we're doing everything right. Absolutely not. We actually acknowledge that in our parenting, in our business and so forth, we're probably doing a good percentage of it wrong, but that's part of the learning process.
Yeah. The goal is to try to get to 80-20, like anything else, right?
Yeah.
80% of it right. We're going to be all right.
Through what you maybe aren't doing right, or there's a better way to do it, that's where you find the clarity. And that's where you also find the questions that you ask yourself, like this powerful question, am I just telling my kids or am I actually showing them? That's a powerful question that provides a lot of opportunity for clarity around how you do want to show up as a parent.
So let me ask you this. What do you want for your kid?
Oh, man. I mean, I think any parent says, I want the world. I want the world for my kids. I want them to know that.
What do you want their experience to be?
I want their experience to be having a mindset of feeling abundant. I want them to feel like the world is a safe and limitless place, because I know that when it comes to feeling safe, that's sort of the foundation, that jumping off point to be able to do anything. We have to first feel psychologically safe.
Yep.
I want them to feel loved and connected, because I think at the end of the day, that's what we're all looking for, is love and connection. And so many times we source that through external achievements and a certain amount of money or a certain relationship or what have you. So I want them to have an experience of feeling loved and connected and innately worthy. That's what I want.
So based upon this concept of don't tell them, show them, how does that put the ball in your court? Yeah,
it bounces it right back in my court, right?
But how? Yeah.
I'm going to get into that.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to lead the conversation here, honey. Come on.
That's right. This is the power struggle, you guys. It's
You're
real.
not answering the questions the way I want you to.
Right.
I'm joking. Go ahead.
So what that does for me is it shines the light back on me. It shines the mirror back in my face and says, all right, if I want my kids to feel loved and worthy outside of their external accomplishments or whatever it is, then how am I showing myself that kind of unconditional love? How am I giving myself compassion in times where maybe I missed the mark? How am I taking authentic actions to restore balance and owning up to my own mistakes when I make them? Because I make a lot of them, being a human being. And so it's really just shining that light back on myself and saying, in what areas do I have an opportunity for growth?
Yeah.
And then there's so many more other examples that we'll share as well, but just
so you know me, I like to simplify things, right? So I love your list: safe and abundant and loved and connected and worthy. Yeah. And they're all based in some form of a human need, right? Of physical well-being, of connection, all these things, right? If we were to like simplify it all down, we're going to say, I want my kids to be happy. I just want them to be happy, right? I want them to be, well, and to be happy, they need to be confident or whatever that may be. But one thing that we know based upon our journey is that you don't try to be happy. You try to find happiness, it becomes fleeting. But the one thing that we recognize is that we as human beings are evolutionary, adaptive, growth-oriented systems. This is part of what we call the evolutionary pulse. You know, whether you want to call it God or universe or whatever, created us in this way so we would not just survive, but we would thrive. We would not be here as a species if we didn't have this innate need for more, for progress, right? And for growth. I mean, it's legitimately a universal principle, the law of growth. Everything is constantly expanding. So when you put that in terms of like, how does one find happiness? They're going to find it through progress, because that's going to allow for them to learn how to meet their needs now and later, which is going to create the psychological safety that you're talking about. A lot of times we find ourselves in life seeking comfort to conserve energy, and we seek comfort and we become stagnant. And then we wonder why we're anxious and or depressed or what these different things that are happening. We wonder why our kids aren't confident or courageous, because we're not taking steps to continue to progress. We acted like, well, we've been there. We've done it. We had our turn. Now it's their turn.
Right. I see that a lot.
It's still your turn.
On our kids as like, let me really focus on my child's experience and trying to, as a parent, create that experience for them. But the best way to create a positive experience for your child is to create a positive environment within yourself. And that's really what we're talking about.
We're creating a positive environment within ourselves. Therefore, we're going to create a positive environment or an environment of growth or a high performance environment within your four walls. And then that's going to spread like wildfire throughout our world. Like legitimate, this is the answer, in my personal opinion, to all the world's problems. If every single one of us creates a sense of psychological safety because we continue to grow and progress as an individual system, as an individual human being, we'll all raise the level of consciousness, and the answers to whatever we perceive to be problems in the world will be presented to us. It's when we are outwardly focused and we point our fingers and we say, why aren't they doing this and why aren't they doing that? But we're not taking full responsibility, that it turns into dissonance. It turns into separation, and it turns into obstacle and perceived problems, which then we focus on the problem. So what do we get more of?
Right. And when we're creating a problem, when we're focusing on a problem, we're also co-creating the answer at the same time. So the answer's there, it's available, but what are you more focused on? So
the answer is progress, right?
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on progress. If you just focus on how you're going to progress as a human being, right? That's it. And it could be something as simple as a health journey. Maybe that's the place you start. A lot of times that's the place to start, because that feeds into everything. Now you have the energy. Now you have the confidence to work on the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. But progress, like, never stop progressing, right? And then now your kids are going to have a model and an example to be progressing themselves, because that vibration of progress is going to turn into happiness and fulfillment and passion and purpose. And then that's going to be the environment that they're exposed to based upon your frequency. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. Let's talk a little bit about development and how kids learn.
Okay. So
a lot of info on that.
Oh yeah. I don't want to go too far into it, but the natural learning process, first and foremost, is done through observing, right? So we have this beginner's mind when we're children. We watch something, we learn how to walk, we learn how to, do all these things. we learn how to act and treat people. All of these things, how to treat ourselves based upon what we are observing. So let's take it as something as simple as, if I want to learn how to swing a tennis racket, but I've never seen anybody ever swing a tennis racket. Am I going to know? I've never seen it. I just pick up this racket. I'm like, what is this for? And someone's like, use it. I'm like, I don't know how to use it. But if somebody is playing tennis at the court right next to me, and I'm like, oh, it's a racket, there's a ball, that's how you swing. Then I could grab my racket and I could start swinging because I've seen somebody do it. I've observed them, right? And now I am like, oh, that's how you do it. And I start to have my own experience of it. Now, as you begin to have your own experience of it, because you're seeing somebody else do it, now pretty soon, through the feelings and the senses and the sensations of where the racket is and how it feels and what happens to the ball when you hit the ball. Oh, it went way up in the air. Don't do that. Hit it more level. Okay, got it. I then begin to learn how to swing a racket. The repetition, and I repeat it over and over, eventually, that swing becomes natural, becomes normal, becomes familiar, right? And I can evaluate myself. I can course correct and do these things. So it's no different with any quality, with any behavior, with anything. Our children are learning the exact same way. They're learning by watching.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can tell, those of us with daughters in particular, but just people in general, are very aware of their bodies, right? And so we could tell our daughter, for example, you look beautiful. You're perfect. You're great just the way you are.
Love yourself.
Yeah. And you can say all of that, but when little one looks and sees mom looking in the mirror and being critical of herself, whether she's saying anything or not, there's an energetic that's there that is picked up on. Yep. And so that becomes a learned way of being. Well, this is important. I take note because my caregivers are telling me what's important to pay attention to for my own safety.
Mm-hmm. They're teaching me how to survive.
Right. So this may be something important that I need to pay attention to. So even when we think we're giving positive messaging, and I'm not saying this to discourage anyone, I'm saying this because it's something that I've realized in my own parenting journey. Even when we think we are kind of giving lip service in a way to the positive messaging that we want our kids to have a different experience than we did, if we don't actually go and show them by embodying that, by having a better relationship with ourselves and really doing that work, then unintentionally, they're still going to pick up on the same message.
Yeah. So I love that. So we created this in this moment. We're in this conversation. And you and I are kind of talking back and forth, and it's not like this is new to us. We know that anytime something shows up as a pattern within our children, we're like, okay, mirror time, right? And whether it be a lower vibration and kind of some, or poor behavior or whatever it is, then we're kind of, okay, what is it within us? How are we modeling that, right? And we take full responsibility because it just makes life easier. I'm telling you, initially there might be some resistance to it, but I'm just telling you, when you just say, I'm going to take the reins fully and take full responsibility, it doesn't mean you're going to control everything. There's a difference between responsibility and control. Don't get those two things confused. So we're kind of going back and forth, and we are trying to figure out, well, what do we need to do? How do we need to teach Haley that, that this is not okay and this is how we want her to be, right? And we're kind of going back and forth. And I was like, we can't tell her. We have to show her, right? Yeah. And then so we're like, we don't tell them, we show them. And that's where it came from, right? Yeah. And so I would love to hear, because I feel like this has resonated a little bit even more with you than it has with me. I mean, I love it and I'm all about it. And I think about it still. I do, and I'm making decisions based upon it. But it seems to has really sparked a fire within you.
Yeah, it has, because it's been a question that has been, it's a statement, right? Don't tell them, show them. That's a statement. It can also be a mantra. that you say to yourself. But it could also be a question, a powerful question that you're asking yourself. Am I telling them or am I showing them? And I think there's an opportunity in just about every moment as a parent and as a leader, if you have teams or you have people that, are kind of looking to you, to ask yourself that question. And it's a point of inspection, right? So when I'm driving and I'm hear the ping of my phone and I am sitting at the traffic light and I want to check and see what the text message is or the notification is, I think about that and I think, what's the message I want to send to my kids? Do I want to tell them when they're 16 years old, don't use your cell phone while you're driving, because we all know that's been proven to be a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah.
Do I want to tell them, stay off of your phone? But they've been growing up seeing me doing it, like sitting at the light, checking a message. Oh, the light's green. Someone just honked at you because you were not aware of your surroundings. Mm-hmm. Right. So I've taken that to heart and I've asked myself questions like that. I've asked myself questions about that in those moments. And so I am trying to teach them this concept of don't tell them, show them. And I said, you know how mom and dad say, don't tell them, show them? Like, yeah. Well, here's the deal, you guys, I'm going to tell you when you're 16, not to be on your phone when you're driving, because your safety is important and also the safety of other people around you. So if you see mom pick up her phone while she's driving, I want you to tell me, Mom, no. And if the phone rings while I'm driving, I want you to answer it for me. So that's holding myself accountable and also showing them the value in what it is I'm planning on telling them when they're 16 years old. So I'm trying to get actually a little bit more ahead of the ball and take responsibility for it now. But really that can be done in any moment. It's just building that awareness and then noticing. And it's amazing how many things are just kind of hardwired into our neurological circuitry where we stop at a light and our hand just reaches for the phone just to see, what's there.
A distraction. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's a program. It's just conditioning.
Exactly.
There's an impulse to grab the phone. So you grab it. You don't even think about it. You're just doing it.
Mm-hmm. And they're watching. They're always watching.
So to help remind us, because, we're creatures where if it's not based in survival, if it's not going to keep me alive, it's hard for us to recall it. What have we done to remind ourselves of this motto? We got some shirts made. Tell them about the shirts.
Oh, yeah. So we got some shirts that say, don't tell them, show them. And we also got the kids some shirts that say, don't tell me, show me. And I'll tell you guys, I realized this a few.
That gives me chills. It gives me chills. It just makes me like, talk about it's a slap in the face. You know what I mean? Like, you want your kids to be healthy. Don't tell me, show me. You want them to be stronger. Don't tell me, show me. You want to be confident. Don't tell me, show me. Like, and that's just, then they'll see it and they'll be like, oh, I legitimately said yes to an opportunity coming up where I'm going to auction in front of 400 people. If you don't know, if you're listening, I'm a third generation auctioneer, but I went to school and I have a chant and everything. I don't, especially since COVID, I haven't even been on a stage since COVID. And, I've done a handful, maybe 6 or something, 8, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't get paid for it. I just donate my time and it's just for fun. I'm not trying to, create an auctioneering business. It's just a family tradition I wanted to continue. So for me to go from I've done a few small little 100-person auctions, 80-person auctions. I think the biggest I did was 200. I did that with my dad, to say yes to doing an auction in front of 400 people in the convention center. And there was a couple of motivations. One was, I like to overcome the resistance of my mind. So I know that's going to create all kinds of chatter. So I'm going to have to overcome that. And so that's a good training opportunity. But when I said yes, it was because, I want my kids to be fearless. I want them to say yes to new experiences. I want them to just willingly say yes to themselves and serve and have confidence and just lean into fear. So if I said no right now, I looked at my motivation I was going to say no, but I'm too busy. But really, the real reason why I was going to say no was because it was going to be uncomfortable to be in front of 400 people with the mic in my hand and have to auction. Right. And because I have confidence in my chant, I'm not worried about any of those other things. It's just legitimately the act of doing it. So then I thought, well, would I want my son to say no? Would I want my daughter to say no to being in an experience that would be new and challenge them and they'd have to be confident to show up fully? No, I wouldn't. Damn it. Don't tell them, show them. Shit. Okay, yes, I'll do it. Yeah. And so it just is showing up time and time and time again. And so I think it's going to be one of those that stick.
Yeah, I feel that on a health journey right now myself, just getting back into healthier habits. And I have a history with some of that where I, in the past, did it from the wrong intention, right? Did it for cosmetic reasons to try to feel worthy, whatever. Now doing it from a much better mental and emotional space, and also doing it for the reason that I want to set that example for my kids of what it looks like to take care of yourself and to take care of the gifts of our body and our mind and really make the most of what we have here in this life.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's my motivation.
You can also relate it to our own like disciplined habits, morning routines, health journey, how we lean into fear and take risks and grow and develop our confidence and do things that are hard, right? We could talk about it in the realm of, so that maybe, it could be business or whatever. And in a relationship, like I know that what's that?
I was thinking of an example of that.
I was just going to say, I know that my daughter's watching me and how I treat you.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be her expectation of how she should be treated. Right. Yeah, and I'm like thinking, well, I want my daughter to be treated like the world. So then I'm going to treat my wife like she's the absolute world as best as I can. I'm going to fall. I'm going to slip, but I'm going to at least go into my life, into that day with that intention. And then if I fall, I don't beat myself up. I just get back up, dust myself off, because that's part of it too. The other day I had an experience where I was in an emotionally charged moment with somebody. I'm not going to go into the story, but I sat down afterwards and I sat down next to my daughter and she curled up next to me and she said, "It's okay, Daddy. Like sometimes you just got to let things go." And I said, "I'm sorry you had to see that, sweetheart. That Daddy could have handled that better. And that's okay, Daddy. Sometimes you just got to let things go." Yeah. And so, but I acknowledged to her that I wasn't being my best self in that moment. And I fell short. So I'm sorry you had to see that. And then she showed me that it was just a beautiful
yeah, dream. That was beautiful. I got to see that. That was the point that I was thinking of also is, setting the example of what it looks like to own your mistakes.
There you go.
And to take authentic action to restore balance, whether that is maybe sometimes it's an apology. Yeah. And don't underestimate the power of apologizing to your kids. There's been so many times where I've just, been working on something wrapped up in the moment and they're asking for something and I snap at them. And then, I realize, wow, I've got to own the way that I just treated someone, because if I'm telling my children, if I'm telling them, right, if I'm telling them, treat other people the way you want to be treated, is that the way I want to be treated? Absolutely not. So I've got to own that. And I've got to come back to them and say, you know what? I'm really sorry that I yelled at you in that moment. And don't need to justify it by saying I was busy or whatever, but I'm just really sorry. And you don't deserve to be talked to that way. Right. I don't want my kids to let anybody else talk to them that way.
Right.
So why would I?
Yeah. Don't tell them, show them.
Right.
Is there anything else?
Your mistakes. That's a big one. Yeah.
I mean, you can start to look at every single aspect of your life and be like, all right, well, as a leader, now it's not just parents. We're not as hard. Right. And this is teammates. This is a ball coach. This is a business owner, it's all of those pieces, because it just It's just how things are. It's just how we learn.
Mm-hmm.
We're tribe oriented, connection based human beings that are better together, and we learn from each other. This is why I just had this conversation yesterday with one of my clients and they were talking about comparison, and they use this term compare and despair. And I said, okay, well, wait a minute. Again, so many things about our human experience are for us because it's how we're wired.
Right.
And we need to stop judging and acting like there's something wrong with how we're wired as a human being, because that circuitry of how things fire and wire together in certain ways are there to keep us alive. There's a difference between doing shadow work and rewriting narratives and trying to overcome limiting beliefs. That's one portion, but it's actually a fairly small portion of doing the work.
Right. It's a day by day, moment by moment practice.
Yeah. And because you can get stuck in that and you can ruminate in that, and then you can start to believe there's something wrong with you. Whereas there's this whole other component of just saying like, this is based in survival, right? Because I project out and look at something I like about somebody. And then I'm like, ooh, I want to be more like that. Like, that's a great example of how I want to be as a father. Mm-hmm. I remember this a decade ago when I was a new father, and I had a friend of mine by the name of Casey Jaycox. Maybe he listens to the podcast. I don't know. He has his own podcast called the Quarterback Dad Podcast or something. It's a good podcast.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
I was on it a long time ago, but he was how he was with his family. I was like, that's how I want to be. Right. So it wasn't like beating myself saying like, oh, I'm not how I. No, it was like, that's a great example of how I want to be. Or you could look over here and watch somebody at the grocery store or other, and you can look over and be like, oh my goodness, they're not handling themselves well. So it's just a double-sided coin of saying, right, that's working and that's not. I like that. I'm going to do that. That's going to lead towards survival. And that's not. I mean, you could go all the way back to, hey, look, what's that thing flying up in the air? Oh, that tribe over the way over there has learned to build this thing that creates heat. We're calling it fire, right? And now they're cooking over it. Well, it's easier to survive if we learn how to build this fire. Let's go learn how to build this fire because that's going to help us to evolve. Like, comparison is just, again.
The problem is when we start judging ourselves and shaming ourselves for comparing. This is a totally normal human function. When you let that overtake you is when it becomes a problem. When you just stop looking at it as information and you start making it mean something else about you,
right?
That's where you get into
touching your limiting belief, right? Yeah,
right. Yeah. But you can take it as information and you can say, this is like step one of the process of creating the circumstances or experience that I want to have. Step one sometimes is looking at what you don't want.
Yeah, I know. Right? That's the declutter, right?
Yeah, that's comes sometimes from comparison. We go, well, all right, here's my friend over here having this relationship and it looks this way. That's definitely what I don't want down the road. So how can I take that information and ask myself, what can I do in my relationship so it doesn't go down that path? So I have awareness around what I don't want by comparing. So there's a lot of positives that come from it. We just can't beat ourselves up about it.
And that's because, again, it's just what we're the point we're making is it's all part of the learning, natural learning process. It's part of and I just love this term. Maybe I'm overusing it, but you've been using it a lot recently. I tend to get stuck on terms. You know how I do that, but it's part of our evolutionary pulse. It's part of why we are here. And so I have been really trying to unpack that for people recently because it just softens the edges and it helps you take full responsibility and not judge it and say, oh, I'm a growth-oriented, evolutionary, adaptive system. So then if I don't grow, it's going to cause a dissonance within me because I'm not living into the humanness Right. And so when I just accept that there's never going to be enough, that there's no there, that I always want to, that I'm always going to need to grow and evolve, I'm going to create a better environment within myself. I'm going to have more fulfillment and happiness because I'm embracing progress. Therefore, my environment is going to be one of progress. And now I'm showing them and not telling them.
Yeah. Mic drop.
Mic drop. One of these days, I'm going to do it from a stage. I can't wait.
You are. I can't wait to watch and be there.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
It might not even be mic. It might not even be mic
They
drop.
maybe they don't even have mics.
But it might not even be. I think this would be funnier. Like maybe you have a mic drop moment, but you don't drop the mic, and then another speech is like it's falling on deaf ears, right? And you just drop the mic. I think that would be hilarious. I've always thought like that's when I actually want to do it. When it's like, what's he doing?
You just go up there and bomb it.
In here. The guy just bombed. Mic drop and just walk off like you just killed.
People are like getting up to go to the bathroom. It's that bad, and then you just like, and that's it. And that's all I had to say.
You can hear chairs slide out because it's just so quiet. Like,
yeah.
Anyway, this has been awesome. Is there anything else that you would like to share within this conversation?
No, I just feel like this new mantra is a gift. And I'm excited to see how that continues to unfold in our lives. But I'm also excited that others are listening to this. And I would encourage, if you are listening to this and this resonates with you and you're like, yeah, man, that's convicting. Like in the best way. And I want to start making changes in my life. And I want to start becoming more aware of how I'm showing up as a leader. That you take this and you share it with other people, and that you get into the community that Ryan talked about, the integrated human performance community, and you be a part of what we're doing, because we have a community of people that are taking this to heart, that want to become the best versions of themselves so that they can be a catalyst for transformation in the next generation and beyond. So that's an open invitation to anybody listening to join us, to be a part of this movement. And we're just really excited and honored and humbled to be bringing this forth.
Couldn't said it better myself. So thank you so much for your time, my dear. And I will see you in 2 minutes.
All right. I'll see you by the coffee pot.
Okay. Sounds good.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. Remember, leaders go first. Alignment matters. And the environment that you create is the legacy you'll leave. We'll see you on the next episode.